name's Matt. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic.
Hey, Matt.
So the doctor's opinion, I'll say this. When I first came into AA, I would call my sponsor and I'd kind of go over this list of problems that I had, and he would tell me to pray and read the doctor's opinion 4 times, and then he would hang up. And then I'd call him back the next day and I'd have the same problems, and he would tell me to pray and read the doctor's opinion 4 times. And I think what he was trying to do was really to drill home, what was going on with me. Because before I came to AA, I didn't really understand what I had. I didn't understand what it was. I thought I had anxiety, depression, PTSD, and that's what I had been labeled as having. Even when I was 12, 13, I'd go to therapist's office and psychiatrists. I was put on antidepressants at a young age because that's what it looked like. I was just a problematic child who couldn't pay attention. I couldn't be satisfied. Reading through this, I think the primary component of it is that I have a threefold disease, and that's kind of how it was put to me. I have a sick body, and when I put alcohol in my body, I develop this phenomenon of craving. I have a mental obsession, where even if I'm able to get removed from drugs and alcohol, I can't stop this hamster wheel that's just going and going and going and going. And I also have a spiritual sickness as well. So I have a sick body, a sick mind, and a sick spirit, where my natural state is to be restless, irritable, and discontent. And once that kind of sunk in for me, it was easy for me to identify with this book. I can identify with almost everything that's written in here because they're kind of writing about me. Man, when I was a kid, I always felt like I had to go do something. I had this angst about me. I gotta go do something. I don't know what it is that I have to do, but I gotta get up and I gotta move and I gotta go somewhere. I had a really hard time sitting still. And I didn't understand that that's what it's like to be restless, where I'm sitting in a chair, even in meetings, and I'm shaking my leg. I gotta go check my phone. I gotta go get coffee. I gotta go to the bathroom. And it's hard for me to just sit and to be all right. I'd get annoyed at things very easily. I still do. I'll be sitting next to someone and maybe they're breathing really heavily. And I'm like, why are you breathing so heavily? Why? Just breathe normal. If someone's eating food and they're really loud, I'm like, why are you eating food like that? What are you doing, my man? But when I'm spiritually well, I'm like, hey, dude, enjoy that yogurt. It looks delicious. I would get annoyed at things that didn't require that kind of attention. I'd notice this when I'm in line at a gas station. I'd be sitting there in line and I'm looking at the different food items that people are buying, and I'm like, why are you buying so many donuts? Hurry it up. I got things I got to do, man. I'd always have this edge to me, whatever it is that I'm doing is more important than what everybody else is doing. So everybody else has got to get out of my way so I can do what it is that I need to do. I couldn't get satisfied. And what I mean by that is that I would kind of chase after different things to fill me, and nothing seemed to work. I'm one of those guys that I'd have 100 pennies, and 99 of those pennies are in perfect mint condition. Not a spot on them. And one of the pennies is scuffed up, and that's what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on that one scuffed up penny. And so when someone kind of laid out, Matt, you're a restless guy. You're an irritable guy, and you're discontent. At first, I got a little defensive because I didn't want to be labeled like that. You know what I mean? No one wants to be labeled as a restless, irritable, and discontent person. Those are not great qualities to have, but that's how I am in my natural state. I started getting high when I was about 15 years old, and it didn't take long for me to become a weekend warrior. And by the time I was 17, 18 years old, I felt like me and Purdue Pharma were going to conquer the world together. I mean, I felt that way. I had found this answer that I had always been looking for. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been waiting. And so I thought that I had kind of kicked in the back door to heaven, because when I put I love opioids and vodka, man. When I put those things in my body, it produces the effect in which I had intended it to produce, and that effect is that I no longer care. I don't care about what you think about me. I don't care about your opinion about me. I don't care about my 5-year game plan. I don't care about retirement. I don't care about studying for that test. I don't care about showing up to work on time. I don't care. Because I care a lot. I care a ton, dude. If anything, I care too much. I care too much about everything, especially the things that don't require that much care. And so, I mean, I can remember, just to kind of give because the doctor's opinion is really just a story about my life, right? About the allergy, the phenomenon of craving, my sick body, and my sick spirit. And I ended up moving to Baltimore when I was about 19 years old. I didn't want to go to college. I had a couple opportunities to go to Xavier, Ohio University, and Ohio State. And I convinced my parents that I need like a year off to discover myself. And really what that meant is I just wanted to get loaded. I just wanted to get high. I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to do anything productive. So I moved to Baltimore. And for somebody who has a drug problem, that's like the worst place. That's like the worst place to end up, man. And by the time I was like in my late teens, early 20s, I was an everyday user. And man, I would sell my soul to get high and drunk. We lived in these row homes out there in Baltimore, and so all these homes are kind of 2-3 stories long. And one of the best examples I can give is that I had run out of money to get high, and my parents had a safe upstairs in the 3rd story, which is kind of sad when you think about it. That I'm stealing so much from my loved ones that they have to buy a heavy-duty safe to protect their valuable belongings from me. And my parents left. They're going to the movies or something like that. And I was like, this is my opportunity to get into this safe. And I had been removed from alcohol and drugs for a few days. So that physical part hadn't been kicked off yet. And my parents had like a little bit of wine left in the fridge. And so I took that and I'm telling myself, like, don't do this. I'm telling myself, like, don't steal. Like, I'm a few days in. I had a little bit of wine. Like, just let it be. Let it be. And, man, once this thing got kicked off, I went downstairs. I grabbed my mom's stethoscope. I go up to the 3rd story. I plop down a pillow. I'd watched enough Jason Statham movies where I'm like, I'm going to be able to get into this thing. And I'm sitting down, and I got the stethoscope on, and I'm trying to hear the safe, cracking as I'm moving this knob. And it's actually really hard to break into a safe. It's pretty difficult, And I had no idea what I'm doing. I'm shaking and I'm sweating some. And I can't get into this thing, and I get so frustrated that I take a hammer and a wedge. And it's an important distinction here because, like, even if I get into the safe, like, what's the game plan after that? But the thing is like, it doesn't matter for me. And, like, that's kind of the story for my whole life, where it's like, when this thing has been reignited, like, I don't care about the consequences. I'm not thinking about getting arrested. I'm not thinking about hurting the people that I love. I'm thinking about the in-between part. I like New Girl. The New Girl, it's like a rom-com, love rom-coms. And one of the things in this rom-com is, like, this guy's making a joke about, like, the in-between part, the middle part. And that's kind of how I lived my life. I'm thinking about the in-between part. And so I can't get into this safe. I grab a hammer and a wedge, and I start trying to, get through this thing. But I'm going to pull this thing apart. And it's sturdy. You know what I mean? Safes are pretty sturdy. And so I can't get in, and I've damaged the safe enough, but I'm still not into the safe. And I get so frustrated, and I take it and I throw it down, down the 3 stories. And now this safe, this few 100-pound safe, is in the middle of the living room and in between the kitchen. And I'm thinking, like, man, like, what am I going to tell my parents, I'm like, oh, we were robbed, someone tried to rob us, obviously. And, my dad wanted to press charges, and my mom is like, no, he's our sweet boy. And that's kind of how it was. My mom is like my champion. My dad's like, we know that you're an asshole. Like, we know. And so, dude, I lived my life that way all the way up into my mid-20s. I would take things, I'd pawn them. Remember when we moved to Baltimore, man, I'd rip through the boxes we were using to move, and I'd fill it up with baseball memorabilia, video games, cassette, whatever I could get my hands on. And I didn't have a license or a car because I was a loser. And I'm filling up my suitcase, and I'm wheeling it to pawn shops. Like, just in the middle of Baltimore Market, I'm wheeling these 2 suitcases up to pawn shops, and I'm walking around with a Ziploc bag because I'm too cheap to go buy my own Newports. So I'd pick up Newports off the ground, and I'd put them in a Ziploc bag if they were like half smoked. And I'd go to these pawn shops, and I'd try to act not desperate. I'm like, oh, my family member died. I had so many family members that died. I think my grandfather died like 9 times. And I'm in there, and I'm telling them this hard luck story, and they know that I'm desperate. And I'd sell these valuable possessions that meant something to me at one point, or meant something to my family, and I'd sell it for 1/10 of what it's worth, man. For me, like, that's probably like the best example of what that kind of looks like, where even if I get removed from it, I'm just thinking, my wheels are turning, man. I'm thinking. And my thought process is not, I'm like a caveman. I'm basically like, don't drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I am going to drink. I am going to drink. I am going to drink. Now I'm drinking. And then the next day comes around. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to drink. I am going to drink. I am going to drink. Now I'm drinking. And like, it just repeats itself. And it actually talks about this in the doctor's opinion, where it's like, this is repeated over and over. And unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery. And that really stuck out to me, man, because like, I'm 35 now, and man, I've been doing this for 20 years. That's a long time. And I think when I was younger, I would kind of convince myself, like, I have time. I've got time. I have time to get better. And another year would go by, and another year would go by, and another year would go by. Dude, it's an endless cycle, man. I'll tell you, most of us don't end up getting sober. The probability is that we will all die drunk. And that's kind of a scary thought, man. First coming into AA, I got out of treatment. I'm 25 years old. I'm drinking myself to death. And I'm getting sober with this group of guys. And I'm like, we're all going to get sober together. We have this big group. We're all playing volleyball together, and we're in all of these AA intramural sports. We're doing this thing. And I'd see people start to kind of fall off. And then another person would fall off, and another person would fall off. And I remember at first getting really frustrated. I'm like, what's happening? Why are all these people disappearing? And my house manager at that time, Mike McCool, he's like, dude, what do you expect, man? What do you think this is? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought we're all getting sober together. He's like, dude, like, this is just us doing what we do. This is just us doing exactly what I'm designed to do. I think at a certain point in my life, man, I crossed over a line in which I just was never going to be able to return from. Like when I first started, it really worked. Drugs and alcohol worked. OxyContin works great, man. But after a while, it stops working. And if anything, I think it starts to kind of amplify the noise in my head. It almost makes it worse, where at first it would kind of quiet that noise and I'd get some relief. But after a while, I'm deeper in, and there's just not enough, man. I mean, I could be in a 3-point stance, and you're having a conversation with the top of my head, and I'm like, I still need more. I'm slurring my words, and it's like, there's just not enough. And I think at a certain point, I crossed over this line, and I kept trying to recreate that feeling. And it talks about that as well in the doctor's opinion, where like, this thing is so elusive, man. Like, I'm trying to get to this state of nirvana, right? And I don't know where that kind of came from, where like everything has to be exciting. Like everything is better when I'm drunk or high. Like if I'm going to go take the trash out, it's going to feel a lot better when I'm high. If I'm going to go on a date, it's going to feel a lot better when I'm high. If I'm going to go to sleep, it's going to be much easier if I'm high. If I'm going to talk to my family members, it's a lot easier when I'm high. If I'm going grocery shopping, way better when I'm high. And like, I don't know where that came from, where it's like, I always have to be in the top 1%, It's like elitism, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just is not the top 1% anyone wants to be a part of, But like, I gotta be up here, always, man. And anything that doesn't meet that mark sucks. Anything that's not up here just sucks. And that's why early recovery can be tough, because I'm not living up here anymore. My dopamine levels aren't at 1,000, And so everything seems kind of boring. It's not as exciting. Man, I even fell in love with the process of getting high and drunk. Like, just like the actual ritual of like scheming, trying to find money. I became addicted to the chaos of it. I got to lie to this person and lie to that person, and I have to put on this game face here, and now I got to give myself a pep talk to be able to get over here. And it's like, there's something almost addictive about like the chaotic nature of it. And then when I'm getting sober, it's like, it's not that complicated. I don't have to do all this scheming, and I got to be this guy for that guy. I got to do this over here. I went to Turning Point of Tampa. It's a rehabilitation center. When I was 26 years old, I was drinking myself to death. I'd had half a dozen grand mal seizures that year alone, and I ended up on a mechanical ventilator because I was dying of alcoholism at 25 years old. And there was some other stuff, involved there, as well. But I remember I got off the vent. I had to do physical therapy for a couple of weeks. And I went to this treatment facility, man, and I got introduced to AA that way. And I had dabbled some before. I'd gone to some NA meetings, in Baltimore, but I didn't really know what was going on. I'd come, I'd sit in the back. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I'd look at the steps, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I get the concept here. But I never really grabbed onto anything, probably just because I wasn't desperate enough to. I thought I had time to fix my life. The doctor's opinion was really kind of shoved in my face as to like, this is the condition that I have. This is what I'm dealing with right now. I have a sick body, a sick mind, and a sick spirit. And any ideas that I have are terrible. They're awful. My sponsor used to tell me, you can go find some homeless guy in front of a 7-Eleven, and that guy is going to have a better idea in terms of how to run your life than you will. And I was like, damn, bro, like, take it easy, I got sober when I was 25 years old, man, and I fell in love with the culture of AA because it was new and it was exciting. For the first time in my life, I had friends. I worked through the steps. I got my life on track. I fought my way back into a nursing school that I had been kicked out of. I had a grand mal seizure in the school parking lot. And I remember going over to the academic chair for level 2, and she was like, you can't do that here. And I was like, that makes sense. It's a strong argument you're making. I tried to convince her that I had diabetes. She's like, I can smell alcohol in your breath. And I'm like, it's the ketones. It's the ketones. And she's like, okay, we're going to drug test you. And I'm like, fuck. I was too stupid to get fake urine or something. So I went and took this drug test. They're like, you are no longer a student here. So it took me about 6 months to fight my way back in. But I had a lot of support, man. I had a lot of support. I went through college in AA the first time. I graduated college in AA. I became a cardiac ICU nurse in Morton Plant. I got engaged. I got an apartment. I got a car. I had friends. My life was filled with love, dude. I probably had 700 meetings the first year that I got sober in 2015, 2016. Like 2 a day. I mean, I just was so ingrained in this thing. And, man, it's the same problem, though, because, even if I fill my life up with all this stuff, man, I am still an alcoholic. And so that restless, irritable, and discontent part of me, it's still there. It still requires treatment. So like I can shiny myself up and I can go get a BSN and I can go get a nice job and I can wear tight scrubs that show off how many squats I've been doing. And I can poof my hair up and I can get, a smoking girlfriend, but it doesn't change what's going on inside of me. And after about 3.5 years sober in AA, I became one of those miserable guys. And I wouldn't tell you that. I'd smile. Everything's going great, dude. Everything's going fine. I've got everything under control. But I became consumed with propelling myself forward. I became consumed with my fiance, with looking better, with eating healthier, exercising. I got to get more money. Like how do I advance myself in the world? And one of the things that I didn't do was treat my alcoholism. I didn't treat my alcoholism. I'd show up to AA meetings, I'd share some, I'd participate some, but I was still sick at 3.5 years. It's not like I got like a pass for doing these things, man. And eventually the mental obsession returned for me because I worked the steps backwards all the way to the point where I no longer had faith in God. I had faith in myself. That's the person who I had faith in. I'm going to restore myself to sanity. I'm going to fix my own problem because I'm a go-getter. I'm a hustler. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second. Now the unmanageability that I feel on the inside has returned. And I don't feel very good. And then I'm powerless. I'm powerless over alcohol and drugs. And I remember getting a few beers at 3.5 years sober. And man, once that thing got kicked off in me, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop doing it. And I kept it a secret for almost 9 months, where it's like no one can know. Because now I've got this beautiful life, man. I'm looking at buying a home. I'm getting promoted at work. I'm going to go become a device rep. Go to anesthesia school. I could have done whatever the fuck I wanted to do. Like no one can know. It will be devastating. I've made amends to all these people. AA is my life. What are people going to think of me? People are going to think less of me if I failed, which is such a crazy thing because like I'm in a room with a bunch of people who think and operate the same way that I think and operate. But I come in here and it's like, well, I'm well. I'm not here because I'm well. I'm not sitting here because I'm well on the inside. So I went out for about a year and I got really sick again, man. I'd walk around work. I put an IV in my foot and I would just suck meds out of the bag and I'd shoot it into my foot and I'd keep going, dude. And I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. I'd print out patient wristbands, scan them. It was during COVID too, so it was like the wild, wild west. I had so much autonomy. And someone caught me. They're like, why are you giving each of your patients 12 milligrams of Ativan every shift? And I'm like, and I remember getting caught, dude. I got called in by the head of human resources and the head of human resources, my nurse manager, and the head of pharmacy, and they sat me down. And I knew when they brought me in that room that there was going to be a problem because everything's documented, But once again, that's that in between part. I'm so sick that I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm jeopardizing other people's lives. I'm so sick that I'm not thinking about how devastating this will be to my family, how devastating this will be to my fiance. I'm so sick, I'm not thinking about the fact that I could OD in one of the bathrooms in there and no one's going to find me. And it would take 10, 15 minutes, dude, with the kind of sedatives I was pumping into my system. I'm not thinking about any of those things, man, because once this thing has been ignited, I'm thinking about the middle part. And the middle part is all that I care about, man. So they call me in, they sit me down, and they're like, we've noticed some discrepancies in your practicing. And I'm like, you have? I'm like, tell me about them. Maybe I need to improve in certain areas, And, we go over this whole thing. And they're like, this patient, like, why did you gave this patient like this much Versed. And I'm like, yeah, like they were a little aggressive, maybe I overdid it, this is a learning opportunity for me, and I'm doing this back and forth and they know that what I'm doing is not okay. And they let me go on like a 20-minute speaker meeting. And I did, dude. I went at it with everything in me. I remember driving there to go meet them. I shot up some Ativan and I'm like, Oh, this is DAA. I can talk about it. All that stuff. And I'm like, I got to get prepped, dude. And I'm in there fighting for my life. And the thing is like, even if I had gotten away with it, it's like, what's the game plan after that? Even if I get away with it and they're like, hey, man, you're good. What's my next move? I'm so sick. It's not like I can keep this going. I'm not going to be able to detox myself. And I know this from prior experience. I've spent my entire adult life trying to manage my drug use. I've spent my entire adult life trying to solve my alcoholism. And I have been unsuccessful. And so they kind of give me an ultimatum and they're like, well, what we can do is we can report you to the authorities because we need to stop you from practicing, or you can join this program called the Intervention Project for Nurses, and you're going to go to rehab. And my first thought is like, I'm going to become a real estate agent. You know? This nursing thing has been great, fantastic, love what you guys do for the community, but you know, my skill set is obviously going to be in another path, and I have another pathway. And so that goes on for like a month. I come home and I'm lying my ass off, and I'm like, I'm still going to be able to find a way to get out of this. I'm not going to go to rehab, which is mandated, by the way. It's not like one of those optional things. And I'm like, I'm still pushing back with everything in me because I'm like, I can't go to rehab. I'll lose my girlfriend. I'll lose the money. I'll lose my apartment. I'll lose all this shiny stuff that Alcoholics Anonymous has provided me with, which is not the point of any of this anyway. I end up eventually running out of medications. And so talking to me on the phone, it's like, I'm not going, dude, there's no way. And then the next day, it's like, maybe I'll go. It's possible. And then the next day, I'm like 50-50. And then eventually, it's like, dude, I got to go now. Like, I need someone to pick me up and take me there immediately. So I went back to treatment. I was in Turning Point for 90 days. And I was sick, dude. I was real sick. I was coming off 90 milligrams of methadone. I was shooting Ativan. I mean, I was sick. I was really sick for almost 60 days in there. And it's not the type of program when I went there where like they medicate you, like you come off cold. Like they didn't have a detox there. Like you don't get weaned off of anything. Like you're either sober or you're not. There's not like a middle ground to that where they're doing MAT therapy. They're like, no, like you're either in AA and doing this or you're not. There's no middle ground. And dude, I came back and I got sober with a vengeance. I came out, I worked the steps, dude. I went back to school. I got back in college. I was working full-time. I'm in school full-time. I'm in couples therapy. You know, in my mind, I'm looking at my fiance and I'm like, you got 12 months to be mad at me. You got 12 months. You hit me with whatever it is you got to hit me with. You say whatever it is you got to say to me. And like, that's how my mindset was. You know, it's like, I can take all of it. Like, let's go. I kind of had this fire in me. But at the same time, too, like my motives for getting sober were primarily so I could get my fiance back. And I see that a lot in AA, where it's like, I'm getting sober because I got to get my wife back or my girlfriend back or my kids back. And like, those things are nice tools to have. But if that's my primary motive, if that doesn't work out, I'm shit out of luck, man. So I went back to nursing. I practiced for another year, worked through the steps. I'm sponsoring guys. I'm speaking all over the place. I'm like really ingrained again in AA. My friends are back. Dude, I ate it. I mean, you know, I ate all of it for the first 12, 18 months. It was brutal. It was fun and it was chaotic, but it was also probably one of the most painful things I've ever gone through in my life. And I got sober again. I got sober for a little over 3 years. I switched career paths because I thought I needed more prestige and more money and more power. And so I left nursing for pretty much all of the wrong reasons. And I still was kind of in that mindset where it's like, dude, if I can fix myself enough on the outside, maybe this allergy and the phenomenon of craving won't matter. Maybe the restless, irritable, and discontent part will go away. Maybe the mental obsession will quiet down. And the more that I pursued God in all of these other areas, the sicker I got, man. Because I'm looking for God in all the wrong places. And it says this in the book too, that the fundamental idea of God is in every man, woman, and child. So I'm looking everywhere for this thing that is already in me, but I'm so blocked off trying to chase after a bunch of shiny shit that I come into AA and I do all this leg work and I'm grinding and I'm hustling and I'm just doing a bunch of motion. I'm sick. Again, I'm just two-stepping. I'm going to meetings. I'm sharing my wisdom and my experience with people. But I'm sick, man. I'm sick on the inside and I'm not doing well. And I made literally the same exact mistake the second time getting sober. I got hammered one night. I showed up to Fever. And I'm sitting next to my friend Meredith and Brian, who are major players at Turning Point of Tampa. Then my best friend Chris and Brian on my left side, and I reek of alcohol. And I remember going into the bathroom after Fever, and my friend Chris comes and gets me out, and he's bringing me to the car, and he's like, man, like you got something with that 3-year mark, don't you? And I'm so upset. You know, I'm in the car, and I'm just crying, and I'm like, my life is over. It's totally over. You know, what's the point of any of this? And he ends up taking me home, and it took him and my buddy Zach they got to pull me out of the car. And I remember calling my friend Zakwa on the phone, and I'm just so upset, you know, because I became miserable in AA again. I mean, if you had talked to me after I picked up a 3-year medallion, like I seemed sick. Like I didn't feel okay on the inside. Like all this stuff that I had done and accomplished, I didn't feel more confident. I didn't feel better about myself. I didn't see what other people saw with me. Because if you looked at me on the outside, it's like, damn, dude, like this guy's an account executive at a Fortune 500 software company. He was a registered nurse. He's got a banging girlfriend. He's got all these friends that are in triathlons, and they're taking Instagram videos of themselves doing one-armed pull-ups at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it looked like on the outside. But on the inside, dude, I was dying. I mean, like suicidal dying, because I'm just thinking about myself all the time. I'm just always thinking about myself. What does Matt need? What do I need? How do I get more? How do I get more? I mean, I remember I got a promotion a few months before I drank, and it was like probably one of the most monumental moments in the 9-year work history that I have. And I felt good for about 5 minutes. And then after that, the confidence just went all the way down to the ground. Because once again, I'm looking for God, and I'm looking for peace in all these places that it doesn't exist, you know? And I see that a lot, like where I talk to guys who come in, and like there's this obsession with getting physically fit, with getting money, with getting the girl. And sometimes I just want to shake them, and I'm like, there's no answer there. You're not going to find it. It's not where it exists, man. There's not enough money or success or smiles that you can give people that's going to solve this thing for you, my man. And so I became miserable. I drank again. And, dude, I've been on an 18-month run since then. You know, trying to come back, picking up white chips, going to detox, going to rehab, going to sober houses, getting kicked out of sober houses. This cyclical thing that I do that, once again, it talks about in the book. And I'll say this, man, like, one of my favorite parts about this is that it says here, later he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, and with some misgiving we consented. The cases we have followed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men, as we have come to know them, the entire absence of profit motive, and their community spirit is indeed inspiring to one who has labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. They believe in themselves and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. And like, it's so true, man. Like, even coming out here, like, I have been showered with tolerance and with love that feels completely undeserving. You know what I mean? But like, that's what this program is. Like, people here are helping me. And like, sometimes I'm like, why? Like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worth helping. But it's like that, there's something so miraculous about this, dude, where like, I can come into a program like this, and it can change everything. It can change everything. And these guys, it's almost like someone found the cure for cancer, and like now they can't wait to tell other people that there's a cure to cancer, and that's kind of what I've experienced here, where it's like guys are trying to help me have a psychic change. They're trying to lead me on a path, because like that's where the answer is. It's a total shift in my perception, my viewpoint, the way that I see the world, the way that I see myself. And I've learned the hard way that God doesn't exist and all of these other things, man. It's not there. And those things are important, don't get me wrong. Like being able to retire, have a jet ski. I mean, shit, dude, that would be nice. Who doesn't want something like that? But like, it's not going to fulfill my soul. Sitting with another alcoholic, relating to another alcoholic, sharing my experience with another alcoholic, having that person share their experience with me, going on this journey with somebody else who has suffered the same way that I have and trying to find a solution. That's where the answer is, man. That's where the juice of this thing is, So even coming here to do this, man, like I didn't want to come do this tonight. I just don't. But now that I'm here and now that I'm talking with you guys, I get reminded quickly of like, this is what it is, man. It's getting out of my comfort zone. It's doing something. How can I be of service to someone else? Maybe I say something that has an impact and maybe I don't, but it's the effort that counts. No different than if I pick up the phone and I call someone, whether that person picks up or not is irrelevant. The actual conversation that takes place, 99% of it's totally unimportant. It's the action that I took to pick up the phone and to go do something different, right? And so it can be scary sometimes how easily I can shift back into this place of illness, man. You give me 2 or 3 days where I'm sitting in my head, dude, I'll go from being grateful for everything to being ungrateful really quickly. And then I come to AA and I talk to other alcoholics and I get reminded, man, like this is where it is, man. This is where life is. And like when you see someone's life change or have had that experience yourself, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it, dude. When you see somebody who comes from like the worst situation possible and now they're doing something different with their lives, it's so mind-blowing because I am wired to drink myself to death. That is my destiny. I hear people, oh, this is my destiny and God has a plan for me. You know what God's plan for me is? It's to drink myself to death. That's the game plan for me, man. So now I have an opportunity to come in here and to do something different. And I'm grateful for this meeting, for the people that have been here and who have helped me, so far. Because no one has asked anything of, like no one wants anything from me. Like I don't owe anyone money in here. I don't think, I don't have to, you know what I mean? Like people are just doing this because it helps them and because it helps me. And like, there's something about that is so there's something about it that's so attractive, man. So, I just want to leave some time here so other people can, share too, but that's my experience with the doctor's opinion, the threefold disease, and how there's a miraculous solution to the thing from which I suffer. So.
All right, thank you, Matt.